Yes, people, how are we all? And welcome back to the second episode of season 2. 2, angel numbers, you know what I mean? But yeah, welcome back, and I'm very excited for you to hear this episode with my good friend Siobhan O Hagan. So I actually met Siobhan out in Bali, but I've known of Siobhan for quite a long time because she's been a very inspirational figure in my own life, just because she lives life differently, lives life how she wants to, and doesn't really give a shit what anyone else thinks, and she is just an amazing character. So I'm very excited for you to all listen to this episode. She has a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, and I'm sure you'll definitely get a lot of value from this conversation. So I hope you enjoy, and yeah. Also guys, can you all do me a massive favour and spread some love by hitting subscribe, hitting the like button, and I'm sure good karma will come back your way, you know what I mean? This podcast is also sponsored by the Breathwork meditation course by Sinead Haggerty, and I'm so excited to be working on this brand just because it really aligns with me, who I am, and the message that I'm trying to get out there, because obviously meditating is a massive part of my life, and it probably is up there with one of the things that really helps me evolve into the best version of myself. For anyone who doesn't know, the Breathwork is a 21-day guided meditation course, and it's honestly a journey. Like, you start off, every single day is differently, and because it's 21 days in a row, it gets you into a routine of meditating. And for me, meditating is so beneficial. Like, it helps you find out who you are, it helps you grow into a better person, release any limiting beliefs or negative self-talk. It also helps you sort of discover and have clarity on who you are and what you want to become, and helps you manifest the life of your dreams, essentially. So I obviously knew what meditating was for ages, and I honestly struggled so much to try and get into it, because there was loads and loads of things on YouTube, and I heard so many people talking about how beneficial meditating is, and I was like, why can't I get into this? Like, this is so hard. And it wasn't until I done Sinead's 21-day meditation course where I was like, oh my god, like, meditating is so powerful. So for example, every single day is different. Like, one day is all about gratitude, the next day could be all about following joy and what gives you purpose, connecting to your higher self and figuring out who you are, inner child work and releasing judgment and like all the sort of negative things that may be stored inside us, to help you understand them more, have a different perspective on yourself and your own life. For anyone who sort of wants to get into meditation but doesn't know really where to start, this is your thing. Like, you need to try it. Even if you do know how to meditate, you need to try this course and give it a go, because it's so powerful and so beneficial. Like, I've actually got a 10% discount code. So if you want to do the meditation course, all you have to do is type in Kegs10 whenever you're checking out, and you'll get 10% off the full course. I'm so buzzing to be working on this brand, because it's just a bit of me, you know what I mean? It's a bit of me.
We are here on the Kegs podcast. We hope you enjoy the show, yeah.
Hello and welcome back to the second episode of the second season of the Kegs podcast. Welcome back, everyone. Today's guest is the queen of living life differently, Siobhan O Hagan. What is the crack?
Thank you. That's the best introduction I think I've had.
I know, you're literally one
Normally
of the first.
it's like personal trainer and online coach, and I'm like, I don't know, I feel like I am more than that a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. You're all rounder. You've loads of different things going on.
Oh yeah, master of nothing.
Master of I love it. But yeah, you literally are the queen of like living life differently. Like, I remember seeing you years ago, and I was like, oh my god, her life, like, she's just living life how she wants it. It's sick, and definitely inspired me as a younger.
Sound like that TikTok. You know, my vibe right now is just living life.
Love a bit of TikTok, like. So Siobhan, tell us a bit about yourself. I know that's sort of the question people always ask at the start, but for those who don't know.
Yeah, well, I won't talk about my fitness too much. Basically, how I ended up here was, I was working in the corporate world. You know, studied maths in university. Just, thought I was going to be like a smart little kid and be intelligent and be a profession. Get a profession. I thought I wanted to do accounting, and then I was going to do actuary, and then I basically just had a good job and was kind of just tipping away, with life, just working all week, going on the piss the weekends, repeat. And then I was 25, and I just kind of had this, what you call like a mid-quarter life crisis, where I was looking around and I was like, this can't be it for the next 40 years. Because I was like, okay, until I retire when I'm 65, like, is this going to be it for the next 40 years? Am I going to have to continue planning everything outside of those 35 hours I was always at that desk?
What was it you were actually doing?
So at that time I was doing, I was like testing software for pension administration, which was
Sounds
riveting.
fun.
Yeah. And like at the same time I was actually working in the right venue in a club. Like, I was like head hostess in the VIP area, and I used to think it was like my alter ego. I'd get out of the office clothes and get into like my high heels and my little skirts, and then go basically party and work all weekend. So I kind of was like, no, but I had to tell myself, no, that's not a real job. You can't be doing that. I spent like a summer in Portugal working for my auntie, and I really like, I remember asking her, when are you going to go back to Ireland and get a real job? Like, I thought that's what you had to do. And she was loving life. Like, she was one of the most intelligent women I've ever met. And she said, like, look around you, like, look at her kids were just running in the sand, and she was just running not just running a business, but like she was running a small business, doing boat trips with her husband, who was a fisherman. But I was like, but you could be like CEO of some huge company. And it was so strange to me, because I didn't know anyone living differently except my auntie Roisin. And then I went back to the corporate world. I was there for ages. Eventually, I was just desperate for a change, and someone said, what do you want to do all day? And I was like, go to the gym. So then someone said, be a personal trainer. And I actually thought that was crazy, because I wasn't even in good shape or anything like that. But you know what, I was desperate for a change. So I did that. And that idea of just being able, like, actually working towards something. So I changed jobs. I went back to my old job, and was studying in the evenings. I set up my Instagram, like, because I was so embarrassed of like posting fitness stuff. So
how old were you then?
25.
25.
I say it as if I was a baby, but like, I'm just the L one here now. I do say that because I think people, a lot, even like, I'll say our friends here, 25-year-olds going, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, that's okay. I hadn't a clue. Like
100%.
But yeah, so I was 25 and I started my Instagram, started sharing my fitness journey, because I was too embarrassed to put it on my own page. And then it grew legs. Like, it just...
Did it grow really fast?
Yeah, I think I was one of the first. I think I was just ahead of the game. Like, I was one of the first women in Ireland lifting weights on Instagram in 2015. I was changing the shape of my body, and people were like, "Wow, how are you doing that? Like, how much cardio and abs are you doing?" And I was like, "None, just lifting weights and eating in moderation." And so it grew really fast. I had like 10,000 followers by the time I did. Like, that's in like 6 months, and then by the next 6 months, I don't know, 60,000. I remember January 2016, I had like 60,000. And
nice.
It literally peaked just after I did a bodybuilding show, which, everyone loves dramatic transformations. And then after that, it's been pretty steady, but I think it's because I've kind of changed like, before I was like your typical fitness hunt. Like, I was like just doing everything, lunchbox meals, all that. And then I was kind of a bit lost again. And, I was like, is this it? What? And doing a lot of soul searching, reading a lot of books, journaling, looking at values. And it sounded crazy, but like, these books were like, close your eyes and picture apps, if you won the lotto, where would you be, what would you be doing? And I was like, I just imagine being in a hammock with my laptop, like at a beach, like working on my laptop. And kind of had that in the back of my head. And obviously, I don't know, like, you think, did I manifest it, or was it there? Did I make all decisions based around that? And I was just clear on my values. So I looked at what that meant, and it meant I wanted freedom and happiness and sunshine. And
sounds familiar.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's achievable.
Yeah.
Obviously, depending on a couple of things, but that's why I shared the journey so much, because I was like, guys, I figured it out. You can actually do this, and it doesn't mean you have to win the lotto, and you don't have to be really smart. You don't have to have a successful profession. You can actually just make enough money to do what you want to do and be really happy. And that's how I ended up. I was doing personal training, but then I was like, I really want to go to Portugal for a few weeks to my sister, and I used to go and stay, and then I was like, I think I'm going to move fully online.
Sick.
Which, I mean, not that many personal trainers were doing that back then. That was like 2017, and again, lucky, ahead of the game. I had the following online. I was able to just create business that different kind of fitness businesses, and ended up stumbling to Bali one day and was like, right, this is the good life.
I love it.
So I've just been coming and going here for the last 4 years then.
Is that when you came 4 years ago?
It was October 2018, so 3.5 years. Is that quick maths? Yeah. And the maths degree is like long gone. And so I've just been coming here, and I just love the lifestyle here. I mean, I'm sure everyone's been talking about it, but just for what I like in terms of like having a good balance with fitness, nutrition, crack, people, culture. Just love it. So that's kind of how I started, how I ended up here.
I love that. Yeah, you've been on some journey, to be fair. And you sort of touched in the start there where you were sort of in the corporate job, you went to uni, got the degree and done all that there, and you sort of felt the pressure that this is what you had to do. You had to be in Ireland, you had to do this, and to become like a CEO of a company is what's going to bring you success. And I wanted to sort of ask, obviously now it's a lot more knowing that people can live life differently, like you can work online and you have your own business and stuff like that there, but what do you sort of think of the current sort of school systems that makes you think you have to do your A-levels to get to the grade, to get to uni, to get the corporate job? Like, what's your views on all that there?
Yeah, I mean, see, there's a lot of success stories of people who are like, oh, I did terrible in school and look at me now. Whereas I think I'm a little bit different because I'm like, I did really well in school and look at me now. So, but I think that's where I had the crisis, because it's like, no, I did really well in school. I should be happy, successful, rich. Like that was, I mean, that's what I was thinking at, 24, 25. But the problem is, I mean, I studied maths, but I don't know why. I think there should be a lot more emphasis on following your passion or what you are. Like, I remember we did one of these tests, and this is probably going to sound really big-headed, but we did one of those like tests where you find out what you're good at, and some people did it and they were like, oh, I should be a teacher, I should be a nurse. And like, I remember she said to me, you can be whatever you want. And like, looking back now, I'm like, why didn't I follow that better? Like, I was like, okay, what's the highest paid job in Ireland? An actuary. What do they want to study? Maths. Great, I'm good at maths, I'll do that, without even considering what the lifestyle would be like, what being an actuary actually entails. I don't know if you know what that is, or a lot of people don't even know what it is. It's the people who like calculate risk, and so they'd work high up in insurance companies calculating the chances of us all dying. So it's not exactly purposeful. I don't know. Like, obviously there might be some actuaries here who love their job. Shout out to all my class who probably are like but yeah, so I think there should be a bit of a change around different options. Like, there are options in university, but I don't know why they do it with up the north or in the UK, but A-levels, with the Leaving Cert, you get points, and every course is based on supply and demand. So like, if, like, say you want to be a doctor, the points are really high, not because it's a hard course, but because everyone wants to be a doctor. So like, you might need to get 600 points to be a doctor. Whereas I had a course that I actually liked the look of. It was called quantitative finance, because I actually liked the idea of working with numbers and stocks and shares and everything. But that course, say, was 400 points, but I went for the one that was 500 because of demand, even though like. So because I got lots of points, I went for the highest point thing, which was just because everyone wanted to do it. But I should have went for something that I actually enjoy doing. But it doesn't make sense to put it the way they do it. The list it's a bit of a mess. Then you have some courses that there's loads of places on, and people end up in a hard course because the points were low, and then they end up dropping out. So I do think there needs to be a change. I think there needs to be look at alternative ways of making money. That, like, I think the school system points at careers, professions. The idea of working for someone else. Like, I don't feel like there's a lot of entrepreneurial push in school. And maybe that's changed. It's been a long time since I've been in school. But I think one of the best things I ever realised is that I only need to make enough money. I used to think of a number instead of, I have friends who are trying to get promotions, and they make it to the next level in their company, and then they're just buying bigger cars or bigger houses, and their quality of life isn't improving much more, even though they're working harder and longer hours. And with the personal training, I remember just being like, okay, I'm working loads of hours, I'm making loads of money because I had the demand, and I was like, no, wait, I need more time, I need freedom. That's one of my values, and making value-based decisions is such an important thing for me. So then I was like, right, cut back, figure out how much money I need, not even just basically, but how much money I need to pay rent, eat, have a bit of a social life. How much is that? And then I'm like, okay. And I'd literally just divide that back by the number of hours I need to do as a personal trainer. And then all of a sudden I had free time again. And that free time gave me space to read and grow and build more business. And it was just such a different way of thinking that, it was like, work as much as you can, earn as much as you want, or as much as possible. Yeah. Or else just work enough to earn enough and actually have more life.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that as well. And for me, even recently, like, I've been looking at my own values, and freedom is definitely one of my main values too. And then something was coming up for me the other day where I was like looking at success, and I was comparing my own level of success to people who are making like shit tons more money. But then I was like making myself feel bad about it. But now that I realize like freedom is one of my main values, the fact that I have freedom and I have enough to live in this freedom lifestyle, like that is success. You know what I mean?
It's good to be surrounded by people who think like that as well. Like, I remember when I was still working as a personal trainer, and I was doing a bit of traveling, and I was renting an apartment in Dublin, which I was really proud of, that I could afford to do it myself. But I remember looking at my neighbour getting this new car, and I was like, oh my God, I really want one. I'd love to get, I was looking at getting the lease, getting loans basically to get a new car. And then after a few days, I was like, he's never there. was like, he's never at home. Like, he's obviously always working because the car was never there. And I was like, but look at me, I've got my freedom. I'm at home all the time. Like, I might be driving an old car, but I'd rather work less and drive the old car. And I've always kind of had that value through life, like, because it is hard, like, especially, you know, I did have a good year last year where I had money, and I did spend like an idiot. But to be honest, I don't care. I'm like, I'm like, oh, you know, I should be doing this, but I'm very much like YOLO.
Yeah, 100%. And I know when you're talking about like the nice car and buying the nice things, the materialistic things, but does it actually give you happiness? Like, I'm quite happy lucky, I think, that I realized at a younger age that I don't really care about this materialistic things. So I realized that the external things don't give you happiness, and it is like freedom, the travel and stuff, that is what's going to give you happiness, the experience, I think.
Yeah, like, I kind of had to look at myself last summer because, you know, the pandemic was good for me because I actually had to sit down and be at my laptop all the time, and I did work a lot more. Before that, I was like, oh, freedom, YOLO. And then I was like, oh, wait, I have to work. And it was good. It was great. I was able to, like, really put effort into my business a lot more, and I made money from it. And I was able, because I wasn't, like, I was doing all the things I needed to do, but then I found myself buying a Gucci bag, and I had to stop and start. Like, I was like, who is this person? You're the person who went to Bali, went to Thailand, was like, I'd never do it, all that. But then I realised, because I used to nearly give out about it, but then I suppose I just stopped and thought, like, I can afford it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not stopping me doing anything I want to do. So that's why it was more that I worry about people, and I shouldn't worry about what other people are doing, but you know, I see other people who are saving up for this, you know, like sacrificing. You know, I have friends who are like, oh God, you have a great life, I'd love to be, or take me with you when I'm flying away. I'm like, you can come. Like, there's nothing stopping you coming. You spend your money in different ways, like, that's fine. But I just hate people, or I just don't hate anyone. I hate seeing people get frustrated I just think, you know, they just need to be a bit more mindful in their decisions and kind of, and again, that's why I share my life and just show that there is a different way to living than just trying to get, you know, married and mortgage and kids and, you know, it does kind of trigger people sometimes because it does, obviously, sometimes I sound like I'm preachy, but I just want people to be as happy as I am. Yeah, and just go after what you want. That's what I was going to talk, like, obviously you've went against sort of the grain of, like, the way, not normal, but like people at home live. Societal norms. Yeah. And obviously you touched there on like getting married and kids, and like obviously you live life differently as well. So how did you find out what your like values or your beliefs that you actually want for yourself were? Like, did you go through a process where like, this is what I want? Or like it's a lot of good. I suppose it's my habit of journaling and often just reflecting on where I'm at in my life. Like, sometimes I have a separate journal where I just kind of take stock of my life, like once a month. I haven't done it in a while, but like I'd write down where I'm at, like relationships wise, friends, family, business, like even my relationship with my body, because that's been like a battle over the years. And just kind of I'd be like, okay, that's where I'm at. Where do I want to be? And like steps in between, and even. Like, I might find myself saying, oh, I want to do this. And then I'm like, but do I want to do it because I want to do it or because I should be doing it? Like, sometimes, again, I'm like, God, I should be working so much harder. I'm like, why? Is it because I'm trying to match the money I made last year? Or, again, I have to kind of, you know, reset and go, no, Siobhan, you don't need that much. You can just make enough. Remind myself. I have to always, because you can get carried away with other people's influences and even your own thoughts of yourself. But with societal, like, I think I always thought I was just going to get married and have kids and get a house. Like, that was just, I didn't know anyone living any other way. And then I think because I was so sure of my values of freedom, like even now, I know I want to be able to move countries every 2 to 3 months. So that's why I'm like, do I even bother pursuing this guy? Or like, I'm like, couldn't be bothered. And it's just like, you know, some people, Sinead talks about it a lot. Me and Sinead talk about this a lot because, you know, she's like, are you closed off to love? And I'm like, I'm not, but like, I just think I value my freedom and I enjoy my life so much that if I had to sacrifice any part of it, you know, they'd have to be very special. And of course, now I'm 33, and unfortunately for women, you have to go like, you know, you almost decide, okay, if I want to have a kid, I need to start finding someone to have them with. And well, you know, not exactly now, but and I see a lot of friends like that, you know, where they are searching for a man because they are aware of their ticking time bomb. And my fear for my friends is that they'll settle, you know, settle for something that they don't really want. 100%. And, you know, I'm not saying settling and having kids, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I have friends who are like so happy, and I'm so happy for them. But I just want, again, to show people that you don't have to have kids. And I talk about it online a lot, and I get such a great response, you know, from people who maybe don't have friends around them who speak like that, or who or they've thought about that. They've thought that not having kids in a marriage is some sort of failure. And it can feel like that sometimes if I spend a lot of time at home, I'd be bored, or if I'm going to weddings, I don't have someone to go with. Whereas here, it's like I'm spending so much time every evening with people. Like I'm never lonely. If anything, I'm like, can I just stay in tonight? Like just keep.
Yeah, sometimes I go to Ubud for a wee break on my own. I'm like so much people all the time.
I know, and I think it's a lifestyle here. And again, of course, you're meeting people here from so many different cultures, so many different societal norms, and all different age groups. And it's almost like if someone was married, you'd be like, what? You know. So I just share it because I think one thing I've actually realized what it's called. It's called cosmic insignificance therapy. I used to just basically think of the galaxy and the timeline of my life versus like the timeline of the world and how long like the world has been here like billions of years. And I'm like, how insignificant is my life and my career and like what people think of me? You know, I'm like, I'm going to be dead and like a forgotten thing. And I'm like, why am I doing things what other people think I should do?
100%.
And it's like, I only found it the other day. It's called cosmic insignificance therapy. So like if you think of basically 1960 is like 1 millisecond ago in the grand scheme of things. And it's just like, it makes you realize, no, you're not that important. And like, so what if you screw up? So what if you jump off the career ladder? So what if you, I don't know, do whatever you want? And I do, yes, it's you just have to remind yourself of that, and then it gives you a lot more freedom.
100%. I actually love that so much. I think I need to take that advice for myself too, because I feel like I put pressure on myself, comparing myself to other people and stuff, but something I'm becoming a lot more aware of, which I think is a bit of awareness as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of critical thinking. Like, we have so many thoughts running through our heads. You were talking about this yesterday. Like, your brain lies to you. And that's why I like journaling. Like, write things down and be like, is this true? Is this true? Why? Like, drill down. Why? And then you realize, you're like, actually, that's not true, or I'm just completely making that up. I have no proof. Maybe the opposite is true. There's a great book called The Work. I think it's called The Work by Byron Katie. And she like flips things around. It's mad kind of thinking. Like, say you're like, my friend doesn't like me. You write it down and you flip it around and you go, I don't like my friend. And you're like, is it true? Like, it's so weird. And you then practice the negatives and you throw out all these thoughts, and it just makes you drill down on sentences. I'm probably not making any sense, but I would highly recommend that book because it just makes you really, really slow down and question your thoughts. Yeah. And I think that's what I've learned over the years. Like, just think critically. Like, could I be wrong here? Yeah. You know, I still am so opinionated, but I have to stop and go like, is this coming from my ego? Is this coming from, you know, I've realised I'm very passionate about misinformation. Like, I hate inauthentic people, and I hate seeing people like making money off inauthenticity or mis-selling things online.
I feel like it's quite, you can sort of notice people who are being authentic now, though. I can sort of feel it, if you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I often, like me and Sinead talk about it, you know, like I can be very blunt, or I might seem really skeptical of things. And I think we talked about that before. It's like, no, I do have like strong beliefs. I just don't want to be like selling someone based on like my beliefs that I've no proof of. Yeah. But it's, you know, I just want everyone to kind of think, like, slow down and just think a little bit more.
100%, and I do like that 100%. I said 100% 5 times.
I say you know and like and so and.
So yeah, you talk about sort of you're going against the grain, but that sort of brings into you're not really seeking validation from other people, and you just don't really care what other people think of you. Were you always like that, or is it something you've like really, really worked on? Are you still like maybe carry a bit?
Like you know, I'd like to say, I don't care what people think, and then here we are, like, you know, post on Instagram every day, and you know, worried about the trolls and all that. But I don't really worry about them anymore, and I think that has come from growing. I think I've always been a bit different. Like, I don't know. I've always kind of
felt different. Yeah, I'm the same. I always felt a wee bit.
Yeah, I think it's because I was ginger and like all my friends like really good looking. I was always the odd one out. Like, but yeah, I think obviously starting Instagram and, you know, getting my first maybe critical comment, and and like I always thought I had to post perfect pictures and have the perfect body. But then I realized when I started being more myself, I realized that resonated with people a lot more. And I realized that, we could talk about trolls forever, but I've realized that if I am just myself and I'm authentic, there's nothing they can really call me up on. Yeah. They might not like me, and that's fine. I'm like, you know, it's a lot easier to grow followers when you're, you know, pretending to be this perfect, vulnerable, I don't know, whatever kind of person. But when you're just yourself and you're like, yeah, this is me, you don't like it, but you gather a lot more respect from other people. Like you might not I can't talk today, grow loads of followers, but you might, those people that are following you trust you a lot more.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to grow online. It's just trust with my followers.
Yeah.
But it's not easy. Like, it has to come from a place of self-love, like not using filters. That's a hard thing to do when everyone around you is using them. But I'm so glad I stuck with that, because all my friends now are slowly
I stopped to this, completely stopped using filters, and it's because of you and Sinead talking about it. 100%.
Fight about it. Like, I remember during the pandemic, like, we had a huge fight one night because I was like, why are you using them? You're giving out. And now she's like, thanks for that.
It's so funny you talk about that. There's this filter that I used to use, right? And there was a girl using it this morning, so I was like, I haven't used a filter in so long. So I clicked on it that I used before, and I was like, oh my God, like, what the fuck? It makes it look so different.
Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I see some of my friends and I'm like, God, they look great. And then I'm like, oh, I see in the corner, like, oh, they're using a filter. So I put it on myself and I'm like, oh, good God. I was like, I wonder what they actually look like. And the thing is, I always say, for most people, like, it's the most stunning people I know that are using them.
Oh, yeah.
And again, this is, with friends, especially with big followings, I'm like, if you won't come on your story at all without using it, like, what kind of message does that give to your followers? But also, I actually think for your own, never mind, like, you don't have to, you can do whatever you want, you have no responsibility to your followers, like, just be yourself. But I think for your own mental health, I think it's so important to just show up as yourself, because you find then you're like terrified of someone seeing you in real life.
100%. Me and my best friend were actually talking about this yesterday. So my best friend got a photo with this guy, and this guy edited both of them really, like, a lot. My friend Sammy was like, look how different he made me look, like, what the hell? We were talking about how that actually will properly negatively affect that guy's mental health. Like, he's supposed to be bad in himself from doing that.
I know, I've had it, like, where I remember taking a picture with one of my friends in Australia, and I was like, oh my God, gorgeous pic, and she was like, wait, and like, I mean, like, she's half the size of me, and she was like, wait, I just want to make my legs look smaller. And I was like, what? Are you going to do it to mine? She's like, yeah, make you look great. And I was like, I don't agree with this. But, like, I was so sad. I was like, God, I would rather be happy in my body than be, like, smaller and feel the need to change it.
100%.
Like, that's a big thing that I've learned. Like, there's people online who seem perfect, but I'd rather have a better, like, it's not about your mental health. I think mental health's the first thing, like, having a good mindset.
It's all about the mindset. You try not to compare yourself to other people. That's something I've really been working on myself recently as well, because it's like, my body's obviously not the same as all these six-pack guys on Instagram and stuff, and I've just been trying to do a lot of work to stop being such a dick to myself because I was comparing myself to other people.
Same.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's terrible. Like, I'm there giving out to myself this week, like, and the thing is, I've done so much of this that I can notice the thoughts, and I know they're ridiculous. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so fat, and I'm like, are you fat, Siobhan? Is this true? No. Like, no, just then I'm like, okay, that's right. It's not true. I don't need to be so hard to myself. But I focus on, feeling good as well. Like, I'm like, the reason I was thinking that this week is because I went drinking all last weekend, and you're like, my life's a mess. What am I doing? I should just stop.
That was the same as me last week. We were talking about this. I was like, I went for a party for a day, and then I ended up going, like, partying 2 days in the week, and I was like, I am done. But it felt like a rude by sort of week. But it was because I didn't let it. But then I realised towards the end of the week that because I was feeling shit, I wasn't doing my morning routine, and because I wasn't doing my morning routine, that just fucked the balance.
Yeah, team morning routine. Like, I literally, it's the best thing ever. I was like, will we talk about it? Yeah. Like, I just think I think it changed my life.
Yeah.
Just reading Atomic Habits. Have you read it?
Not yet.
It'll change your life.
Okay.
I put it up sometimes. I'm like, just in case anyone still hasn't read this, it is the best book ever.
So with reading, so I used to listen to audiobooks, but with reading, since I've nailed my morning routine out here now, I get up early, do my breathwork, and then I started reading, and I'm nearly finished a full book. I think it's the first full book I've actually properly fully read. I'm loving it. I'm like, what book will I read next?
And that's because you have it. That's because you brought in the habit of reading. And like I always say, if you don't like reading, it just means you haven't picked up a book you're interested in. But yeah, Atomic Habits, because it's all about building habits around the morning. Like, I did not like yoga, and now I know. Even now, I still find it difficult to, like, roll out the mat, but because I have the morning routine nailed, like, I literally wake up, go to the toilet, put on my gym gear that I laid out the night before, make coffee while it's brewing, journal my thoughts, get the coffee, go upstairs, read 2 books for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And now I've started walking while I do that because my steps have been so low. As soon as I finish reading 30 minutes, like, then I roll out the mat. Like, if I did anything else in between, I'd just skip the yoga.
Yeah.
But every time I finish the yoga, like, I was like, I probably don't really need to do it. And every time I finish it, I'm like, that was amazing. My body really needs it.
Yeah. Do you look at your phone in the mornings?
I do when I very first wake up, just quick skim. I don't reply to any messages, or like sometimes I just have this panic that my business is going to end. I think it's because they're 8 hours ahead.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I just need to just make sure that like nothing went to crap overnight.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, I have a quick look while I'm getting dressed, and then I pretty much have it on do not disturb until like after training. Sometimes like I do my morning coffee thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, but like I'd post them nearly sometimes like 4 hours later.
Yeah.
Then
I love doing them. You started me getting to do them. I love doing them.
I saw also someone else, Anna Van Dyke. Yeah, it's just I like it because sometimes I have random thoughts all the time. Like even now, like today I was driving along, I was like I really want to have like bike thoughts. You know, when your head's clear and you're like, oh, I was like thinking things.
I usually do mine like when I'm going for food. I usually do them from thinking on the bike to the restaurant or whatever.
Yeah, I know. I'm like I definitely have more thoughts that I like to share, but I sometimes don't like to go on camera. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, morning routine. I really think so. That gave me a routine. Even with writing a daily email, which is great for my business. Like just again helping people know more about me and what I'm about, and that practice of basically it was like me doing a sales email every day, and I really think it was just part of my morning routine.
Yeah.
And that helped grow my business. It helped me. Like I just know when I start my day with that, then I have freedom for the rest of it. And like I always say, discipline equals freedom.
I've always like looked at people doing their morning routines and stuff, and it's never been me. And since being around all of you guys, I've been like, right, this isn't what I'm going to try. And since trying it for like now maybe 3 weeks, the days that I don't do it are the days that I have shit days.
Yeah.
And the phone thing's my biggest thing. I have to leave my phone in the kitchen. I wake up, do my morning routine, and I go to a normally have my coffee, reading journal, leave my phone at home because if I look at it, I don't have the discipline to go off it. I end up going TikTok, Instagram, then I stuck on it, and then I see the negative comments and I see like random shit like that, and instantly my mood's just lowered for the day. I'm just like, right, no phone for me.
That's great. Yeah, I know. I'd love to do proper like no phone days. I really enjoy Instagram. Like there are times, especially when you're getting like trolled from all angles, where you're just like, I'm quitting. Like why am I doing this? But then it's always like at night time when you're tired and like you want to bite back or whatever. I always just
or when you're hungover. When I'm hungover, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, no, I was getting that last week. It's been like, especially like, oh, you drink so much. You're supposed to be a fitness person. And I'm like, yeah, so
you can do the best of both for us all the way balance.
If anything, I'm like, because I know there's a lot of fitness people online who do drink and party and all that, and they just don't show it. And I'm like, there's no point in pretending to your clients that you're perfect, because I just find about being realistic. I
was listening to, do you know Sean Casey?
Oh, I only just followed him the other day.
Yeah. So I was listening to his podcast with
Caroline. Yeah.
And he was basically talking about how he does all this fitness, blah, blah, but he still loves to go and party and have loads of drinks with the boys at the weekend and stuff. And I was like, yes, fucking going right.
I mean, that was one of the things that helped me grow at the start. Like I remember back when I very first started Instagram, I had gone on a holiday and I came back and I went to the gym to train. And I was like, John, getting McDonald's on the way home. This is when I used to be so perfect. I'm like, I'm going to get McDonald's. And one of the lads who used to they all used to slag me about doing Instagram, And then, now they're all like, any jobs? But like, he was like, you're not going to put that on Instagram, are you? And I was like, yeah. Went home, like put up, I think it was actually pizza, and I put it on Instagram. Like everyone loves it because they're like, oh my god, she's real.
It's normal, yeah.
But now, like that doesn't sound that mad now. Like everyone does it now, but I think at the start it was like, if you have a fitness Instagram, you literally just post fitness meals and be perfect.
Partying, so obviously you've got the best of both worlds. You love to do your fitness, your work, your partying. My question is, whenever you say you go traveling, say you're going traveling in Europe or whatever, and you might be having a little bit of a suitcase, do you struggle with your routine or your balance then?
Yeah. I think I crave routine so much that I actually, like someone says, describe your perfect day, and I just basically describe my day in Bali. Morning routine, training, chilling. Like I'm just, as much as I wanted to be a travel blogger, I'm like, I just hate moving all the time and living out of a backpack. Even like going down to Uluwatu for the night, I'm like, maybe I'll just drive back. I don't want to pack a bag. But with the summer coming up, like I have loads on. So I have to kind of slow down and be mindful and go like, okay, it's okay to miss your routine for once. Like if you're going to go to Tomorrowland, you're not going to be doing yoga. You're going to go wild and you're going to have a great time. But it's okay, because after that, you'll find your balance again. And you'll have those memories and you'll have a great time. But I do, like I've said no to lots of things because I'm like, do you know what? Like, yeah, that does sound great. Like even we're supposed to go to Italy and I really want to go. I've never been. But I was just like, no, I just know that when I get home, I'll just be craving, like when I get off the long haul flight, I don't want to be, I was supposed to be going straight to Italy.
Yeah.
I was like, I know that I'll just be craving routine after a few days of eating and drinking, and just I want to just center myself and catch up with my business, and then I'm ready to go again.
100%.
And even like I'm going to Portugal for a couple of weeks And even there, what I'll do is I'll have my morning routine, but I'll try, and because I value it so much, in the evenings I'll have to try and remind myself that. So I might go for a couple of glasses of wine with my sister, but in my head I'd be like, but I don't want to be hungover tomorrow, because I know that if I start my day well, I'll enjoy the rest of the day, and then I can go have a few more drinks tomorrow if I want, rather than just going mad and then getting up and hating myself and then, you know, going into some sort of spiral. So it's not easy. Like, you have to kind of be mindful in all your decisions. Like when someone's put another gin and tonic down in front of you, which just happens in Portugal all the time, and I'm like, honestly, I'm going after this one, because, you know, I'm in a different environment there where everyone's on holidays and no one has routine, and I'm like, but I really crave it. So I sacrifice it a little bit to travel sometimes, and I will this summer, but I know I'll be craving coming back to Bali and getting back to like the gyms here and the routine that I have here, and, you know, even just like going for dinner with people and not drinking, you know, was pretty normal. But yeah, so it's kind of accepting. It's even, you know, when it comes to fitness and body fat and everything, I'm like accepting that will, you know, fitness will go down, body fat will go up, and that's okay. Whereas my whole life it's been like you're just chasing being lean. And then I look back at videos like of yesterday, 2019, where I had a bit more weight on me. I was like, I had the best summer ever. Like, I didn't care. And so I have to kind of remind myself that, because I think trying to resist, like, if I said, oh no, I want to do my morning routine every day this summer, and then it's not happening, then I'm getting angry at myself.
Keep expectations.
Yeah, I think resisting anything is difficult. You know, resisting the change in your body. If you can't control it, then just go with it.
Yeah.
And just acceptance. You know, can accept what you can't control and change what you can.
Yeah.
That's how I get through life.
No, I love that. That's sick. And it was even with me, like with the going to the gym and stuff. Before I started, I was like hating on it, and then I grown to love it. And it's the same with like the morning routine. Like before I started, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, it was because I had like...
You weren't even an early riser though.
Not at all.
I've always naturally been an early riser, so I was watching you struggle. Riser. I was like, fair play.
I'm struggling now. I'm getting up. Like, I wake up before my alarm at like 7:30. I'm like, fucking let's go, ready for the day. I love it. And now, because I've been doing loads of breathwork, and in the breathwork, it's come up a lot that the morning routine is what's going to make me have a good day. It's what's going to make me happy. It's what's going to make me successful in the long run for like everything I do. So I was like, right. But then I'm thinking, oh, I'd love to go traveling like Thailand and Asia. And then I was like, oh my God, no, that's going to mess up like my whole routine. But I was like you're saying there now,
you can do it. Yeah, like, and you can.
I think it's because before I've been traveling in over years, I've been so all over the place. So I'm thinking maybe it's going to go back to that. But
yeah, no, like, and I have a lot of clients who go traveling over the summer, and they're like, well, how do I do it? And how do I still feel good? You know, like never mind their bodies or whatever, but just feeling good. And I'm like, okay, well, just get up. And I would say eat like an adult. Like, don't even, no matter how much you ate the night before, like, don't be like, oh, I'll just skip breakfast. You know, I'm like, just eat 3 solid meals a day. It's like, you know, lean into your hunger levels, and you know, have a beer in the evening, but like really listen to yourself. Like, if you're waking up hungover every day feeling crap, you know, maybe that's a sign that you actually don't want to drink every night. You know, I would say move where you can. You know, like if in the morning before breakfast, you know, go for a little run. Like, you can run anywhere. Find a gym, do little bits. Like, it's, you know, some people aim for perfection, and they're like, well, I can't follow this program, or I can't do my jiu-jitsu, or, you know, like, and I'm like, it's just consistency over perfection. It's trying to be consistent with your food. You know, like, you don't have to have, just because you can't have the perfect routine or the perfect diet or anything, it doesn't mean you can't do your best with it and still feel okay.
Yeah. And
then again, practicing acceptance. So we're going, yeah, I might not have my routine every day, but I'll travel and I'll have great experiences. And then some days I'll, you know, sit down and do my breath work and I'll feel great. Some days won't feel great. And it's okay.
I think it's also on the days that you don't feel great, be a bit more compassionate to yourself. That's something I'm trying to learn, is like, the days I'm feeling a bit shitty and don't want to do that much, be like, it's okay to have a shit day, and like give a bit of love to yourself.
Like, that was on me on Monday, because I had been like, oh, it's a bank holiday, and went drinking on Sunday, even though like here obviously it doesn't make any difference. But then on Sunday I was lying looking on Instagram all day, and I realised everyone at home had been out on Sunday night. Everyone was dying. I was like, because all my friends here were like in the gym, and I was like, actually it's okay to come over on a Monday.
Yeah, you were all at the bar, and I was like, I gotta go to Louis' spiritual singing thing.
But so like, it's like all my friends here, but I'm like, oh yeah. But then I was like, oh, maybe people in Ireland just have drinking issues. Like, probably
it's part of the big culture, like 100%.
But I mean, you know, like, I was being really hard on myself. But like, that's then I'm like,
yes, it's great to yourself.
But it pushes me. Then it makes me, you know, think about like, well, how do I want to feel? Been nailing everything this week. Feel great. And I probably won't do it this weekend.
Yeah. And see, when you're traveling as well, so you're talking about like living out of suitcase and stuff, have you always sort of moved to a place for like a few months and then moved to the next place, or is there times you've actually been like solo traveling and going place to place?
Oh yeah, like I feel like I remember it was just after my 30th birthday, I I was like, I kept going to Thailand and coming home to this apartment that I was renting. And I was like, I haven't even needed any, I've got a 2-bedroom apartment full of stuff that I haven't used in the last, say, 6 weeks. I was like, why do I have this place? Like, why am I renting it? And I was like, I could just stay in Thailand. It'd be so much cheaper. And that was one of the big, like, people say, like, how much money did you save to go traveling? I was like, none. I went traveling.
Yeah, same.
It was cheaper than living in Dublin. And my business is online, so I just started moving. And what did you ask me again?
Have you been like solo traveling?
Oh yeah. So basically, I nowhere. Like, I just went to Thailand for a week, then went to Bali for a month, and then went to Australia, and I was just like staying in random places. Like, and I had spent a lot of time in Thailand and made friends with a lot of people there who travel.
Did you go on your own?
Yeah, I went to do a retreat. The first time I went to Thailand, I was doing a retreat, and I was supposed to stay on for 2 weeks after with my friend, but then she didn't go. So then I was like, no, that means I have to stay in Thailand on my own for 2 weeks. It sounded like the wildest thing ever, and it was the best thing I ever did. So I travelled around Thailand solo. I think I'd done one little solo weekend before that, but this is like such an experience. Like, going to new cities, mad new culture, and it was the best experience ever. So after that, I was like, right, this is the best thing. You know, obviously I felt like a weirdo online because my friends were like, who are you going with? I'm like, just me.
I love that.
I love solo travel. Like, the people you
So do I.
meet. Like, I remember just walking around and just having these amazing
I
experiences.
just got goosebumps all over my
just-
body because I did it there this summer. I was going around to Croatia and Italy and stuff on my own, and I was just like, I feel like the main character of the movie with earphones in. I was like, this is so sick.
I actually hadn't done it in ages, because now the thing is, like, everywhere I travel, I seem to know someone everywhere. Like,
100%.
And so I went to Croatia, and it was great. I actually was just on my own. It's like, will I go for food? I was like, no. You know, you're like, just
Don't have to.
literally do whatever you want. I love it. And you're just walking along, and you're like, that cafe looks nice, and you just sit there. And sometimes I see couples sitting staring at each other, and they're literally not speaking, and they just look miserable, and I'm buzzing on my own, because obviously you always have your phone. Like, I'm never really lonely.
100%.
And I've had people, message me like, hey, I saw you're in Bangkok, we're on Koh San Road if you want to, or whatever the road, I think it's Koh San Road. Want to join us? And I'm like, then you're like, yeah, I could, or I couldn't. Either way, and it's like, so I've always had company if I want it.
I love that. I think as well, when you actually do go traveling and you meet loads of people who also go traveling, then when you go to like another place, like, you'll end up knowing someone too.
But it is hard what you're saying about moving around a lot, because I don't have a base. I actually did rent a villa here for a couple of years, but then I didn't end up staying. I got kicked out, or not kicked out, I left at the pandemic and then couldn't get back in. I've taken this villa for a year. Now, I have actually finally bought an apartment in Ireland.
Nice.
But it's just rented out. So, like, I'm going back to Ireland now. I'm like, I don't know where I'm staying. But I don't care. It's like, I like renting. Like, obviously it costs a lot more, but I think, I saw someone say once, like, is money wasted when you enjoy it?
Yeah.
And it gives me such a good perspective. Like, I've stayed in the fanciest villas here, the nicest apartments in Dublin. And I'm like, the novelty wears off. Like, and I'm like, same with cars. Like, I rent nice cars when I'm at home for a couple of days, and so after I'm handing it back, and I'm like, thank God I didn't get a big loan out for that, because like, it's obviously a nice car, but like, it just becomes the hedonic treadmill where you just get used to it, and then you
100%.
want more. So I'm so glad I didn't like put myself into any debt for something I didn't like. I kind of tried out all these things, and I'm like, like. So I'm happy staying in nice places, and I'm happy staying in simple places.
That's just like perspective, not putting yourself in debt. Try it out first.
I said that to my friend. Like, she's like, I'm not buying out, so I get the perfect house by the sea. And I was like, why don't you just rent a house by the sea for a while and just see if you actually enjoy it? She's like, I want to get out of Dublin, and she kind of has this, they romanticize things almost. And I'm like, go do it, rent it. Like, you can afford to rent a place for like 3 months or a year even. Yeah. And then if you still really want it, then take the huge mortgage to build it. But
100%.
like, you might get there and be like, oh wait, I actually miss having Uber next,
100%. I know you were talking about then before that, sort of you solo traveling yourself. I know for a fact a lot of girls be messaging me, and a lot of girls probably listen to this podcast as well, want to go traveling. They don't have anyone to go with, but they're so afraid to do it. What sort of advice would you give to that sort of person?
My hashtag used to be like, hashtag just go.
Yeah.
Like, just go. Like, I get that. I'd get like big long messages, and they're like, what do you think? And I'm like blah, 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 blah. I'm like, just go.
100%. I said just book the fucking flight. Yeah. You can always fly home if you don't like it.
Hey, any tips on solo travel? I'm like, I don't know any different. I'm like, it's just travel. Like, even now I'm flying home with Sinead, I was like, do I have to sit beside you on the plane? Like, no, we're looking forward to it, but like, it's mad because I'm so used to solo travel that it's not a thing for me anymore. Like, I'm like, you just book a flight and then you go. And then but like, one of the very first things I did was a weekend in Porto in Portugal on my own, and I didn't know what to expect. Like I would just got off the flight, you're going through the motions, you get to the Airbnb and then you're like, right, now what? Like, do I just go out? Do I like go for food? What if someone talks to me? And like one of the best things I always say is I did like a walking tour. If you ever did in a city, like I did a walking tour and I met loads of people who were just solo traveling as well. I mean, I ended up doing a wine tour, ended up having dinner with all these different people from all around the world in this cafe in Portugal. And I was sitting there going, this is amazing. I was like, if I just came with my friend, this would not have happened. We would have just went,
100%.
we just sat on our own. I met so many new people I still talk to. And that kind of gave me, like the next day I was like, that was unreal. And like then some of them were messaging me like, hey, you want to do something? And I was like, maybe later. And I just went up a bridge and read my book. And I was like, I came home, I was like, right, I'm booking another thing away. I didn't mean to, but I didn't think it'd be Thailand. But
I never actually thought about booking those tours to make friends, because if I was like going places on my own, I would sometimes stay in like hostels, and that's how I would make friends.
The other thing is hostels and gyms.
Yeah.
And even if you don't want to stay in hostel, like you get to my age, you're like I can't be sharing a bed. But a lot of hostels do private rooms, and I always say to people like book a private room, because obviously then you're still meeting the type of people.
And there's most hostels have bars and stuff too. So
and it depends on where you're going. Like some people are like I went to Marbella and it's like you're not probably going to meet too many other solo travelers. You just find yourself sitting in bars beside like groups of friends and you're like, but like some people will invite you in. So there's kind of like obviously anywhere around Southeast Asia, people solo travel all the time. Like Bali is becoming like there's just so welcoming because everyone.
So many Irish.
So many people came. So many Irish, and Irish are very welcoming. So many people came on their own and made some friends, and then they're open to new people who come on their own, and it's great. Like, and that's I would say go to the gym, like any gym, especially classes. Might be difficult to meet someone like just in a normal gym if you're just going in and doing squats, but do classes, talk to people. Again, it depends on where you are. Like if you went into a gym in Dublin, like a CrossFit gym, and went to a class and was like, hey, you want to go for breakfast? They're probably like, no.
What do you mean? Like
so it depends on where you are. So I always think choose your areas, like choose your destinations. And I think that's why everyone's coming to Bali, because like the word's out,
Yeah.
I think it's my fault as well.
You're probably one of the first here.
I think my friend Oisin was like the only Irish person I'd ever met here, and then
this is everyone's Irish.
Yeah,
I'm not even joking. I'd be walking around and I'm like in cafes and I used to spot the Irish straight away.
Yeah,
Like Irish everywhere.
Jiu-jitsu this morning. I was like, hi, what's your name? Andy. And I was like, you said that very Irish. He was like, yeah, from Dublin. I was like,
Mad. I love it. I love it.
Everywhere.
I love how loads of Irish people are now realising you can also like leave Ireland too, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is I love home. Like I'm so excited to go home. But then I think for me, I think it's just the weather. I think I'm just so used to hot weather, and I just
belong in the sun.
The winter, like Dublin in the sun, like nowhere else I'd rather be.
Yeah.
It's just everyone's in such good form. I just love it. So I'm very lucky that I'm keeping my life that I can do both.
Yeah, sick.
But like Bali, I don't know. Like Bali probably will always be. I don't know. I go with the flow. I've no.
See what happens. Yeah. Winging it.
Absolutely winging it.
Same as me. Literally, people are like, "Oh, what are you going to be doing in like 2 or 3 months?" I'm like, I don't even know what country I'm going to be in. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's a great way to be.
100%. I love it. I actually seen a few years ago you'd done like a Bali retreat.
Oh yes. So it's actually. Because I had originally done a retreat in Portugal. Because obviously when you're traveling, people are like, I'd love to travel, but they don't know what to go with, or they'd be like, oh, I want to go. It was actually I did it in Portugal initially because that's where I used to go all the time. People used to ask me questions about it all the time. So I just brought people together. Me and my business partner like organised it. It actually took so much organisation. Like it was actually a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
So I was like afterwards, I was like, and it's really draining because obviously you're meeting all these amazing women came and we had such crack, but obviously you're like entertaining everyone all the time. So like when it ends, you're just like, whew. Like you're like, I breathe. So you need to like recover. But anyway, I was like, then the next one, I was like, I should do Bali. Obviously when I was here and I loved it, and but then my friends Will and Carrie, they have they run retreats here all the time, Wander Fit retreats, and they're like, do you want to host one? So basically, I was just like, they organised everything. So it's the same thing. Obviously, I think we had like 8 Irish women come out for the week, and we just did like activities all day. We did like went to Ubud, went to Ilwat, like did everything, and it was great as well. But I didn't have to do any of the organisation, which is great. But again, it still is very draining. Again, you finish her. ooh.
Yeah.
But I do think retreats, and there's so many people doing retreats now.
Yeah, because that's one of my goals for obviously not anytime soon, but in the future down the line, I'd love to do some sort of like solo traveling retreat somewhere like.
And like the thing is, like, if people want to spend, like, if you're showing your personality online and people want to spend time with you, that's brilliant.
Sick.
Like some people go on retreats maybe because they're good value or because of what they offer, but you know, a lot of people are doing retreats because they're like, I like that person. I like her vibe. I like what she does in her life. So, like, if I did a retreat now, I'd be like, right, we're doing Muay Thai, we're doing Jiu-Jitsu, and we're drinking margaritas. Like,
yeah, sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Might be like, right, let's go to Uber and do yoga board and breathwork
Yeah.
and stuff. I love it. That's actually something I would like to touch on. So, obviously you're in Bali, which is like loads and loads of spiritual stuff going on, but I feel like you don't really get involved in like the proper like spiritual side of things. What's your sort of views and all that?
So yeah, this is a deep chat. Like, I used to be really atheist. Like, first of all, I was really religious, you know, altar server, all that. You
Oh my
know.
God, same.
I
And
don't
then I
think I ever
turned
believed it.
atheist.
I was just like doing it for the praise and like the attention of being on the altar.
Yeah.
Don't know. But anyway, and then as I got older and studied like science and maths, I was like, there's no way there's a God in the sky. Like, I was like, that doesn't make sense at all. I was like fighting my parents about it because they were trying to still make me go to mass, and I was like, I'm not going. Anyway, long story short, I kind of gave up on that, and they didn't care in the end. The golf got in the way, so they don't even go to mass anymore. But then Thailand changed it for me. It was actually a couple of things. Like, I started having this feeling around Thailand. I was like, there's something, and it's really still hard to put into words, but I was like, there's something connecting us all. There's some flow to this life, and I can't really figure it out. And I read The Power Now, which, you know, I think everyone kind of starts at that, but it's so deep.
Yeah.
I had a moment when I was solo travel in Chiang Mai. I had started listening to The Power of Now because everyone was telling me about it, and then I had this moment where I saw this like old bookshop in the distance, like, and I was like, oh my God, that looks so cool. Like, I ran over,
Love it.
all secondhand books, and there's just two little old men sitting behind the thing, and I was like, and there's things saying no pictures, and I was raging, and I was like, right, and I was just looking around, and I saw The Power of Now. It was the blue cover, a brand new one, just stuck out at me, and I was like, I've been looking for this everywhere because I couldn't find books in Thailand. And then went over to the pay, and the guy was like, are you Irish? And I was like, are you? And I was like, this little old man from Swords.
What?
was
He's
like-
working in the bookshop?
Or he knew someone from Swords. Yeah, or he owned it.
What the hell is
They're saying
mad?
that actually. I don't think he was from Swords. I think he knew someone in Swords that I knew, and it was just so surreal. So then I'm walking out the shop with The Power of Now, and then I sit down at some random cafe, and I was just having a moment. But that book really did kind of, like, make me be more mindful, like think that there's something going on. I started believing in manifesting, and that my thoughts had power and everything, and I became very spiritual, especially in Bali, doing a lot of yoga here, and there is something magical about this place.
100%.
But I feel like it was a lot more magical. Like, now I feel like it's getting really commercial. Canggu has changed a lot. Anyway, I went through kind of another phase. I've read books. The thing is, I'm really, really curious.
Yeah.
I just love learning.
It's the best way to be.
Yeah, like, I love learning. So I'd say there was something that I used to be like, wow, it's so magical. And then I'd read the science on it and be like, oh, that's how it worked. So then I just wouldn't believe it was magic anymore, but then other things, there's obviously so much that can't be explained by science. Like, even reading, like, the more I read about like astrophysics, and I'm like, oh, there's actually stuff that astrophysics can't explain. Because you see some people, and it's great, like, I think having like whatever beliefs you want is important. Like, whatever, like, if you believe this tree is giving you good energy, that's amazing, as long as it's not negatively affecting someone else.
Oh yeah,
that's
100%.
that's where I kind of like draw the line or get skeptical, or but I've had to, like, me and Sinead talk about it a lot, because I used to tell her, like, oh no, that's not, this is why it works, or, something happened.
Okay, yeah.
She'd be like, oh, that just fell from the sky. I'm like, yeah, do you want me to explain gravity? But like, no, and that's not, no, but the thing is, we've had to talk about it as well. I'd be like, she's like, I don't like, if it's not affecting, if I'm not causing any harm, I don't want to know. And I'm like, oh, that's no matter, like, no problem.
Yeah, that's fair.
But at the same time, she would, like, like, people, I have to, that's why I'm worried I'm too direct sometimes. But yeah, I think what I struggle with is if people are taking it. Thing is, a lot of very vulnerable people come to Bali. A lot of people are hurting, trying to find themselves, trying to find their purpose, and they're being sold by people who are, they're selling them stuff that they're just making up.
Yeah.
Now, you could look at that the other way and be like, well, maybe they're getting nice, maybe the person paying the other person is getting value or direction. But at the same time, I just hate seeing misinformation or disinformation. And if I see someone saying that there's some sort of coach when they've no experience in it, I'm like, I just question myself, like, how can you ethically charge someone for that?
Yeah.
Unless they genuinely believe that they are some, like, I remember my friend Ed actually said that on a podcast recently. He was like, if you can't actually talk to someone's angels, surely you'd be walking around and be, like Mother Teresa or something. You wouldn't be charging them for it. And I was like, but the thing is, again, if it gives solace, like sometimes people are hurting from, they're grieving and they want a message from angels or whatever, then it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I'm just worried about people being vulnerable and getting screwed out of their money, which I think that's a lot of people come to Bali to prey on vulnerable people.
Yeah.
Now, even myself, like I did amazing, like I think, but at the same time, I need to get back into my spiritual a bit more. I did the floating sound therapy in Udara last week, and I was like, I love this. Like,
I love it.
Like looking at nature, like I love, reflecting on nature. And again, like my insignificance when you look at, like, I love doing meditation with the water and the sea, and just being like, I can't believe that I think I know everything. Like 100%. I definitely don't, but I can't believe that I think everything can be explained when there's so many, phenomena that we just can't explain.
Yeah.
I did breathwork the other day for the first time.
I love it.
Oh my God.
How'd you find it?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Jamie, my neighbour does it, and it was unreal.
Is that the Irish guy?
No, it's a girl.
Oh,
Jamie.
okay.
Yeah. And even like everyone else that did, there was only like six of us, I think, that did it. And I was asking them, I was like, where else does it that's really good? Because I really want to do more.
I've done like 4 in the past like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I'm
but they
obsessed.
said that she's actually like the best.
Oh my God, fine.
Yeah,
Give me her details.
I know. So I was like, oh no, I'm after starting with the best. And like,
yeah.
And it was an experience. Like, the thing is, again, like, I've read so much about the breath recently, like the science behind the breath, and I know how it affects, the oxygen in your brain and like my tolerance to carbon dioxide. That's why I can hold my breath so much, and that's why I'm, digging into my subconscious. But I think that there's a lot in your subconscious that we don't access.
100%.
And I think it's so powerful to be able to access it. And
it literally comes up, like your subconscious, the messages come to you during the breathwork.
Yeah, I was bawling, crying, like,
it's nuts. And as well, since I've started it, I've noticed for the past 2 weeks, I've been doing it, and my breathwork coach messaged me because I've been getting crazy vivid dreams that have came with like underlying messages every single night. Like my message last night was I was with these guys from home, and they were basically like laughing at people who believed in spirituality, and I sort of stood in my own power and believed in myself and sort of stood up for what I believed in and actually spoke about it, instead of, because before I would have been a people pleaser and I'd be like not really saying anything or just sort of maybe agreeing and not.
The thing is, I'm the polar opposite. That's my problem. I'm there the one going, you shouldn't do this. But like, again, I really respect people's beliefs, even people's religions, everything. I've learned, I think, reading The Power of Now, and it made me realise that different religions are different. Like, there's so much to respect and so much to be taken from anyone's beliefs. Like, you can just respect it, again, as long as it's not causing conflict.
Yeah. Or hurting anyone else.
Yeah.
100%. I feel like if you're just do whatever you want in life, go after what you want to do, what you want for you, as long as it's not hurting anyone else.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like, just don't really judge people either for what they do as well.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move into like sort of like a quick fire round. It's just like questions from Instagram / questions for myself.
Okay.
So it's not really quick. It's just sort of like
I talk too much. You're like, this is supposed to be a quick round.
So, do you see yourself living the life you're living right now in 10 or 20 years? I know for me, I don't really like thinking that far in the future. Just go with the flow right now. But
yeah, see, sometimes I'm so sure on things. Like, I would have been like, yep, this is it. But then I'm like, I change my mind so much. I might want to settle in Ireland. I might get married and have kids. Like, I don't, at the moment, I'm like, don't want to do that. But I'm just so open to completely changing my stance on anything and everything.
That's amazing. That's a good way to think. I love that. One thing you love about yourself?
Do you know, I actually write this. I write one thing in my journal every day. I was going through a low point last year, and I had to be like, write in your journal every day one thing you like about yourself.
I love that.
And it's either physical or like, and I think one of my favourite things is that I'm just independent, like financially, relationships. I'm happy in my own, so that I can choose to do what I want.
Yeah, I love that. That's sick. Freedom as well. This is from Avine, do you prefer living alone or living with Avine?
No, I'm really glad to have Avine there. Like, I rented that villa, and I was like, I want to live alone. I've got the big villa by myself. And then me and Avine getting on so well, and like, it was like on her story going, anyone need a spare room? I was like, And then, but then I was like, right, go on, you can move in. And then I'm so glad she did. Like, we had such a great time. And like, it's just so chill. Like, she's so easy. The house is nearly like 2 apartments. Like, it's really, so we're not in each other's way. She's hardly there anyway. She's in Soma all the time.
Yeah, she loves it so much. She's like 4 hours a day training. She's nuts. But yeah, Naomi's very chilled out, to be fair.
Yeah, she's great.
Advice to your 24-year-old self?
Just go.
Just go. Do it. Love it. Tips on being more productive. This is from a uni student.
Productive morning routine.
100%.
Plan. What I do is plan what I want to do for the week on a Sunday. Well, I used to do it on a Sunday. And I put it all into my calendar, like just like everything in a 30-minute block into my Google Calendar, and I then move it around into where I'm actually going to do it in the week. So even if it's a to-do list, so like it means then I don't have like this huge to-do list. It's like, okay, I'll just do those things on Monday and I move them to Tuesday. And then if I don't do them on the Monday, I just move the thing to Tuesday. And then it basically ends up with me with a huge list on a Friday.
That's me as well. I do that as well.
But like, it means I can move things around. Like I have like blocks of where I'm at, like my purples is like when I'm training, when I have to do this call. And then I have all my little other things that I can move around. That's like a productivity thing. And the other thing is like 25 minutes on work, 5 minutes off. So I like check my phone in the break.
Yeah.
And it just, you get so much done in those 25 minutes if you're not looking at your phone.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say, I'm not going to look at my phone for 4 hours. So like, at least you're going to check it like every half an hour.
Yeah.
You take a little break and then you timers back down and you can get so much done in 2 hours.
That's sick. I know 100% the phone thing as well. It's my biggest distraction in life. I'm like, right, get away from me now, please. Your favourite thing about living in Bali?
The people.
Yeah.
Expats and the locals. Like everyone's just...
The locals are like the nicest people ever.
Yeah.
Literally the nicest. I love it. If you could live anywhere in the world other than Bali, where would it be?
I don't know. This thing, I'm like, I keep giving myself the freedom to go anywhere. And I'm like, I think I'm supposed to stay here. Probably like South Africa. Such a vibes.
Oh yeah.
Prices are great. Same time zone as Ireland. Opposite summer. So I think it's a great place to, like Cape Town. Great place.
I thought it would have been scary living there.
Yeah, a lot of people said that, but like it's a city. Like obviously, if you have your wits about you, like you know.
Same as I lived in Mexico, and everyone's like, "It's not scary in Mexico." And I'm like, you know what? It's actually fine. And name something coming up that you're really excited for.
Going home.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, me and Sinead are flying home business class together, and it's going to be so fun.
What day are you going home?
Thursday. But it's something that we spend our money on. Like it's one of those things that we splash out and it's an experience. Like it's not like, it's just such an experience and I can't wait to do it with her.
I want to try it, yeah.
Because we both like worked hard in our businesses the last few years and we're like, can't wait to just do this together.
I love it. And yeah, so for anyone who doesn't follow you or anything, do you want to give your social medias or your businesses?
Siobhan, which I never really, the spelling is a nightmare. SIOBH.OHAGAN.
Yeah.
And then my business, my online coaching is The Furnace. So that's thefurnace.ie. We're always open to taking on. We're only women at the moment.
Oh my God, my auntie actually messaged me last night. She's on your furnace.
No way.
Louise McCullough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny.
It's so weird when someone says, oh, actually, I'm like, or sometimes I see a name and I'm like, is that the one that I know?
Yeah, that's so funny. Like, but yes, thank you so much for coming on. That was a great chat.
Great chat.
But yeah, brilliant.
So that is the end of episode 2, guys. I really hope you enjoyed listening to that. And thanks, Siobhan, for coming on. Like, I really, really do appreciate it as well. Like, she's an absolute legend, like the coolest gal. And I'm so happy that I become friends with her. Also, guys, don't forget to hit subscribe and like and comment what you thought of the episode and if you took anything from it, because I'd really appreciate that as well. And don't forget, if you want to do the Breathwork 21-day meditation course, all you have to do is put in Kegs 10 when you're checking out and you'll get 10% discount. Could be for yourself, could be for a friend or a family member or anyone that you think would benefit from doing the meditation course, which I personally think everyone on this planet will benefit from. Next week's episode, we have Cece Coleman, who is another good friend of mine who I met in Bali. She is one of the waitresses on First Dates. I'm not sure if you've seen it before or not, but she is the coolest gal, doesn't give a shit. Me and her have done so much spiritual things in Bali together, and it just had good crack. Like, the conversation flows and it's good banter. So if you want to listen to that episode, hit subscribe, and I will see you next week. Love y'all. Bye.